So welcome everyone. This is a fabulous, great crowd. It's so fun to meet all of you. And it's so great that all of you are here this evening. This is the best group that we've ever had for a State of the City address. So kudos to all of you for coming. One of the first things I would like to do is thank Burl Oaks and their staff for all of the efforts that they've done to put here this evening, and also for allowing us to host this here in their beautiful facility. Yay! And the bartender tonight is Stefan, and he is the manager here. You have some information at your tables. If you're interested in finding out more about membership and the amenities that they have to offer here, you just talk to that man back there in the blue. So again, and thank you very much, Stefan, and to your staff for hosting us. I think this is a much nicer venue than at City Hall. And I also think the cash bar kind of helps a little bit too. So with that, I do want to make a few introductions. I have greeted most of you, but if I missed you, I apologize. Most of you know I'm the mayor. I'm Lisa Whalen. And we have part of our team, part of the council, we have council members, and they are here this evening as well. Guys, can you stand up and I'll introduce you? So we have 4 council members. We have Kathleen Refkin and Ann McGregor. And they've been on the council for a little over 2 years. They were sworn in January of 2021. And our brand new council members, just newly elected, are Peter Vickery and Claudia Lacey. You can sit down now. All right. We also have a few distinguished individuals with us this evening, elected and appointed. So first, I'd like to welcome and say greetings to Dr. Carter. He is our area newly appointed representative to the Met Council. We also have our county commissioner, Kevin Anderson. And he represents Minnetrista among many other cities. And thank you very much for coming. And then we also invited our newly elected representative, Andrew Myers, and he was not able to be here this evening. As you know, it's a very busy time at the legislature, but I know he wanted to be. I don't know if he'll show up a little bit later, but if not, I do want to recognize him. And also, newly elected Senator Kelly Morrison also wanted to be here. And again, because of the busy time at the state capitol, she wasn't able to be here. However, we do have, and I'm going to say your name wrong, I know, Raina Meyer. I don't think you're related, though, right, and Mr. Representative Meyer, but thank you for joining us. And then I also extended an invitation to Congressman Phillips. And again, he's in D.C. doing more important work. Can't imagine that. But he also sent a staff member, Emma Youngquist, to join us, and so she'll report back to him as well. Again, thank you for joining us here this evening. So there's a couple of kind of housekeeping things I want to point out. So you will see these cards. No, they are not for coloring, okay? But they are for writing your questions down. We're going to do the presentation. During the presentation, if you have a question, please write it down. You can also write it down after the presentation. We're going to do this because we have a fairly large group here this evening. It'll be a whole lot easier for Jasper to read these questions at the microphone, and we will try and answer them as best we can, and we'll try and get to all of them. We're going to have about a 5 to 10 minute question and answer session, okay? And if you don't get your question answered, or you would like to ask it personally, feel free afterwards to come up and talk to myself or staff. We do have 2 staff members here this evening. I want to point out Jasper Krugel is our newer city administrator. He came on board last April, so he's been here a year. Okay, you're not officially new now. And then we also have Allie Pulfus, and she does all of our, she does. We'll give them a round of applause in just a second. Allie Pulfus, and she does our HR work, and she also does our communications, and she was responsible to put this thing together, and she did an excellent job. So give them a round of applause. So I'm going to have to read a lot of this because I couldn't memorize it all. And also because I don't think please come in, find a seat, join us. So I'm going to have to read a lot of this, but you can follow along up there. We'll have some pictures as well. So the reason for why we have the State of the City address is, what have we been doing for the past several years? We haven't had a State of the City address for 3 years. This is the first one since 2019. So you might be saying, well, what have we been doing? Why are you here? Well, you probably want to find out what's been happening in our city. Just so you know, all of the elected officials, the City Council, myself, and our City Council members are also residents here in our community. So, and you may know some of them, and they may be your neighbors. So with that, in order to determine what we're going to be doing and how we're going to do it and how we're going to allocate dollars and time, we have to create a strategic plan. So our strategic plan includes water infrastructure, street infrastructure, community engagement, community development, and our budget process. So I'm going to start out with our water infrastructure. So after many years of planning, and this didn't just happen overnight, many years of planning and also a year and a half or so of building, we finally have our third water tower online. It came online the fall of 2021. In addition to that, this will also help us with capacity. It adds another 500,000 gallons of water storage capacity to our southern system. We also tweaked our South Water Treatment Plant, increasing the filtration capacity by 350 gallons per minute, and now we have a total of 1,100 gallons per minute of filtration in our southern system. Last year, the council solicited proposals from engineering firms that specialize specifically in water infrastructure. We selected AE2S, and they are in the process of providing us with a comprehensive, long-range water infrastructure plan for our entire city. In '22, we also drilled test wells in preparation for our 2 permanent wells. Now, and then we will also be building a third water treatment plant. These permanent wells will be started sometime the end of this year, early next year. That's our plan. And then the treatment plant will be following shortly thereafter. I do want to give a thank you and a shout out to Representative Myers. He did present a bond proposal on behalf of the city in the legislature this year to help us with some of our funding. And Senator Morris, I just spoke to her this morning, and she was also very much on board and supports it as well. We don't know where this will go, but as you can imagine, this type of infrastructure is not cheap. It comes with a hefty price tag, and for a community like ours, which is fairly small, especially when you consider the number of city water users on the system, this can be a significant impact financially. So we're hoping the city will step up and help us out with that infrastructure. In anticipation of the new wells, we do need permits from the DNR. And the DNR requires us to take certain actions or steps in order to grant us permission to drill more wells into the aquifers. So what we've been doing, we started kind of a water conservation campaign, and we require now that developers will use stormwater for their irrigation systems. And then we also have started odd even watering restrictions, and that's starting every year, May 1st, and it runs till September 1st. The other thing that we did last year is there was a town hall meeting, and what we did is invited residents that are on city water, and we educated them on best practices, particularly for irrigation. We're also this year continuing our water conservation campaign by sending out postcards to residents, reminding them to check their irrigation systems to make sure that they're operating properly and that they're not overwatering. That's one of our biggest issues. One of the things that we'll also be doing, hearing from people in the community, we will be doing door hangers to remind residents who are violating the watering restrictions and we will give them a warning and information on when and how they should be watering. And that will be one warning. If it happens multiple times or more than once, they might see a fine. But this is in order to assure us that our water resources, one, will last us until we can get our next wells and a treatment plant up and running. So the next, one of our next priorities has been, and we've been focusing on this for quite some time, are our roads. So, as you know, well, some of you might know, we have 32 square miles in Minnetrista. That's the size of our community. It's fairly large. 32 square miles with 52 miles of paved roads and 19 miles of gravel roads. So that's a lot for a small community to really maintain. However, we've been tackling those roads systematically as best we can, and we've been undergoing a lot of different improvements. So in 2020, we did a reclamation project on Shady Lane, Lakeview Drive, and Margaret Circle. In 21, we did Loring Drive, Hardscrabble, Stonebridge, Minneapolis Avenue, and a portion of Sunnyfield Road right in front of the school. And then we also did in 22 the entire neighborhood of Jennings Cove. However, last year the council was kind of scratching our heads saying, you know, we're still behind and we really need to catch up. And so we said, what can we do? And the council decided that we would authorize a budget of $8 million, knowing that we would have to bond for that amount. However, the reality is that as we move forward, every year these projects become more and more expensive. And of course, we become more behind. So with this, it will help us a little bit to get a little bit more caught up. So with that, this year, with the $8 million, we are going to be doing a full reconstruction of Morningview, Eastview, and Westwood, improving the storm sewer system, adding curb and gutter, and replacing a 70-year-old failing water main. In addition to that, we are going to be doing a reclamation project right out here on North Arm and on Trails End and Trails End Circle, and a mill and overlay on Timber Trail. But that's not all we're doing. We are also going to be addressing some other areas for mill and overlays, because mill and overlays will extend the life of a road by 15 to 20 years. So what we want to do is we want to do mill and overlays on those roads that are in fairly good shape so we can extend the life of those roads by a fair amount of time. And so this year we will be doing Painters Creek Preserve, Turtle Creek, Sunnybrook Circle, Hunter's Trail, and about 3/4 of a mile at the end of Kings Point Road. I can't tell you how many miles of mill and overlay it is, but it is fairly significant. The good news is that we solicited the bonds and we received multiple bids and very, very favorable interest rates. We got a 3.9% interest rate. Now, I don't know if any of you have been following interest here lately, but that is excellent. We received that rate because, number one, we have an AA plus bond rating. That means that we have an exceptionally good credit rating. And because of that, and then the other good news is, our bids came in lower than anticipated, and we only had to take out, but we had to borrow $7.5 million versus the $8 million. So those are all really good news for all of our residents, including and staff and the council. So the other thing that we've been working on is a 5-year street improvement plan, and I think this is rather exciting. So what we've done is we've mapped out all of our, with a GIS mapping tool, mapped out all of our roads, and you will be able to go on our new website, which is coming out soon, and you will be able to look and see when your road is going to be done, what year it's going to be done, what type of improvement is going to be done, and what year it's going to be done in. So the mapping tool or the schedule goes out 10 years, although I would highly recommend you only look at the first 5, because after that things might change a little bit. But it does give us an overview for the next 5 to 10 years. This is good for all of you residents as well, because as some of you know, we do assess for reconstruction and reclamation projects. So you can go out and you can see if your street is scheduled for a reclamation or a reconstruct project, you know you're going to get some kind of an assessment. We won't talk more about that, but so our next item that we focus on is our community engagement, and I think this is really important, and it's kind of one of my babies, if you will. But I have a fabulous council. You guys all have fabulous council here, and they all support this effort as well. So what do? We do Facebook, Twitter, email alerts. We have a website, and in this year we're going to revamp it. It's going to be more user-friendly. It's going to improve navigation, and it's going to allow user interface, just like I mentioned with the street improvement projects. It's going to have more content, and it's going to better reflect our community. We also hold neighborhood meetings. These are primarily for large construction projects, but we also have held town hall meetings that are city-focused topics. For instance, last May, we held a water education town hall meeting, and we also held a town hall meeting last fall for the McIntoons grocery site, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a little bit. But in addition to that, we do quarterly newsletters that go out via snail mail, and it is snail mail these days. And then we do the State of the City address. We also do our city bus tour, which is coming up June 6th. The city bus tour will be on, if you're new to the community or have lived here for quite a while, either way, please join us. It is limited seating. We only have one bus. So go online next week and check it out. And we do need an RSVP for it. But it is fun and exciting, and you'll learn a lot. And then we also have Trista Day. And then we are in the very infant stages of putting together an annual holiday event here in Minnetrista. So with that, the other thing that is very important regarding communications, and this was spearheaded by Councilmember McGregor and myself, the broadband expansion. I'm very excited, and we had, again, full support by the council on this. And what we were able to achieve in 2021, we received a border-to-border grant from the state, and MediaCom was able to build out an additional 80 homes that were unserved or underserved. And it was in the Oxyoke Circle, Northview, Farm Hill Road, and Halstead. However, that wasn't really enough, and we weren't satisfied with just 80 homes, since we had over 600 homes that really were in very desperate need of good broadband. So in 22, there was a collaboration between Midco, a company that's currently installing fiber optics, Hennepin County, and thank you, Kevin, for all of your help on that one, greatly appreciated. And then, in the city, we use some of our federal ARPA dollars to subsidize the project, and we are now completing over 500 homes that before had virtually no internet, and they will now have high-speed internet. All of them will be connected sometime this spring or early summer. So the other thing that we did, and we didn't stop there, so we weren't quite happy with that. We wanted more. So what we did is we contacted several private providers, and Lakeside Networks now has a contract with us to place antennas on our Sunnyfield water tower, and they will be able to provide people in that area with more options. However, they are also considering putting equipment in the future, near future hopefully, on our other two city water towers, and those people surrounding those water towers will also have another option for high-speed internet. So the other thing that we have is community development and growth. Excuse me. And with that, we do need help. And so we have our planning commission that helps us. They act as an advisory board to the city council on all of our planning and development issues. And I'd like to introduce to you those that are here this evening that are on our planning commission. We have 7 commissioners. They are appointed by the council, and we have 2 alternates. Currently, we do have 1 alternate opening, so if you're interested in serving in that capacity, please call City Hall and volunteer. We always like volunteers. So with that, we have Laura Sandholm, we have Damian Young, Steve Livermore. You guys can stand if you want. We have Tricia Taylor, Heather Charles, Sarah Hussein, and Michael Kirkwood are our 7 Thank you very much for your volunteer. And they do put in a lot of time, and we have to, and they do a great job. And then our alternate is Zach Gangstad. Then we issued, in case you're wondering, so how fast is Minnetrista growing and what's happening in terms of our growth? So in 2020, we issued 153 new home building permits. We call them units. So if a townhouse is connected, each unit is counted as a separate unit. We had 153 new building permits pulled. In 21, 115. In 22, we had 105. We do expect to get probably more than that in 23, and one of the reasons is because of the new apartment complex that's going to be going in this year. Again, I'm going to get to that right now. So here's a really exciting thing, I think, for most of the residents in Minnetrista, except for maybe some that live in Woodland Cove that live right next to it. But other than that, we're really looking forward to having Mac and Toon's grocery store. It will be located on the on the northwest corner of Highway 7 and Kings Point Road. They will also be, it will include a liquor store and a Caribou coffee shop or drive-through. And on that very same site, there will be a 148-unit luxury apartment complex. And they expect for this to be completed, at least the grocery store part, sometime the spring of 2024. Since we have so very few businesses in Minnetrista, we are very excited about having more come to our city. And this will be a nice addition. With a growing city, we also have to make sure that our parks are well maintained, and with that we do have a Parks Commission, and they again act as an advisory board to the council on all our parks, trails, and open spaces. It includes 5-member commission and with 2 alternates as well, and currently we also have a couple of open seats, so if you're interested in volunteering for that, again, please do so. And the commissioners, we don't have any park commissioners with us this evening. We have Sarah Hussein, Elise Fogel, Jeff Reiser, and Kelly Phillips are part of the commission. And then Hal Goldstein is our alternate. So some of the park improvements that we've done, you can see the picture here. That is one of our that is our picnic shelter that we installed in 2021. That is in the Lyle Park, Hunter's Crest neighborhood. We also installed new playground equipment at Friendship Park, and in Jennings Cove Park and Douglas Park, we installed new equipment as well as new basketball courts, and we striped the basketball courts for pickleball. So those of you that are pickleball fans or enthusiasts, you now have a couple more options. So with that, and then this year, what we're going to be doing, we're adding yet another pickleball court. Actually, it's a tennis court in the Jean Lanier Park. And that's going to have a totally new layout. And then there's going to be new playground equipment, a tennis court that will be striped for pickleball, and there'll also be a new handicap parking area right off County Road 44. So how do we accomplish all of these things? Well, we have a budget. So our budget for 23 is $22,215,475. That's a lot. However, we don't levy all of that. So what you folks, everybody here that lives in Minnetrista, you own property in Minnetrista, what you folks pay is $5,584,229. Basically just a little under $5.6 million. So where is that delta and how come? So we have other sources of revenue. So I'll give you a list. So our levy is one of them. Building permits and fees, licenses, other fees and fines, utility fees or bills such as water and sewer and stormwater and recycling, bond proceeds for this year, for instance, these $7.5 million. We also have interest on our investments, and then we also have leases to cell phone companies that lease space on our water towers, and then this year and going forward we'll also be leasing to internet companies. And then we also get some state aid for some of our roads, and then we also can use some of our fund balance to offset any differences. For example, for instance, you might wonder how we are paying for Jean Lanier Park. That's coming from our park dedication fund balance. That's not coming from tax dollars. Every time a developer comes in and wants to develop, they have to pay a certain amount to our park dedication fund. And then we use those funds to improve existing parks or to add amenities to existing parks or even new parks. So now that you know how much the budget is and how much we levy for and what our revenue sources are, how do we spend our money? Well, we spend it very frugally, I can say, and it is a balancing act. We try and be as fiscally responsible as possible, and being that we're all residents, myself included, and our council members, we know what property taxes, how they impact people. And so we are very conscientious about that, but we spend it on public safety. Public safety is our police department and our fire department. That's one of our biggest budget items. Public works, and then administration, for example, Jasper and Allie like to get paid. And we also have debt service that we pay for, road projects, and then capital purchases such as furnace at City Hall, computers, a new dump truck, things like that. So those are our capital purchases. Those are the things that are included in our budget. And those are the primary things. So with that, I'm done. Hope it wasn't too long, but thank you.